Yeah, just stay away from tornadoes in general if you're flying. I feel like that's just a good...
Probably solid advice. And you know what? Even when you're on land or in water, just stay away from tornadoes.
Like Dodoy, guys. Well, I'm Matt.
And I'm Carter.
And welcome to It's Kind of a Gray Area.
As always, welcome back.
Have you guys ever felt tired, just drained? You know, when you feel like you need to recharge? Mm-hmm. You know, so did ancient people.
Maybe.
I think so.
Possibly.
They were people.
Well, that's true, but I get the point you're trying to make here. So,
let's just
move on.
Good try, Matt.
Right. Today's shade is: did ancient people have batteries?
How else would they charge their iPhones?
That's a great point. I don't think anyone's considered that. You might have cracked this whole case. There's a thing called the Baghdad battery.
Yeah.
This was a battery that dated as far back possibly as 150 BC to something like 200 AD, give or take, depending on who you ask, what archaeologists you're friends with, and how much they know about this. Mm-hmm. But very old thing. That's the point I'm trying to make. At least over 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that they found. It was a terracotta pot, which is clay, basically. Mm-hmm. It's a type of clay. And there was a copper cylinder with a iron rod inserted into that cylinder and trace amounts of some sort of acidic solution inside of the pot, which could seem like it was a battery. Because if you take that pot and you add in like grapefruit juice or lemon juice or vinegar.
Something acidic.
Okay. It's going to produce a charge. So if you connected leads to that, you could produce some sort of electrical current. Mythbusters tried this. They reproduced the terracotta pot.
Oh, cool.
The Baghdad battery, Baghdad. It's a real thing. Right. They reproduced it using, I think, the grapefruit juice, and they were able to get the battery to run with about 4 volts, which would let you do something called electroplating, which is a theory of why they might have existed.
Okay.
There's not a lot of evidence to substantiate that. The big thing being we don't have any examples of metal-plated objects from that time period. The way that works is complicated, and I'm not going to get into it. But basically, you use this battery to graft a thin layer of gold or silver or whatever it may be onto another surface.
Really?
Yes. So it's a common practice today as far as industrial manufacturing. But at the time, that would have been surprising. We don't really have a lot of artifacts that would suggest that they had been gold or silver or copper plated or anything like that. But the thing still remains. There is still this like over 2,000-year-old battery. I'm going to call it a battery. There's a lot of archaeologists, most archaeologists, that would say that it's not a battery. There's no way it could have been a battery. There's no examples of how it would have been used as a battery. One of the prevailing theories is that it was just a way to store scrolls. Why go to the trouble of making that copper tube? That does nothing. Like the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were just in some pots. This thing is designed to function as a battery. You fill it up with vinegar, you got a battery. If you don't, it's just a storage container. That makes no sense to me.
Where else are you going to keep your steel pipe and wrapped in copper?
Right.
Like, where else would you keep that?
It feels like a cop-out to me to just be like, well, we don't know what they would have used it for, so it's something that we already know about. One reason they think it might have just been for scrolls is because, yes, there were trace amounts of acid, but that could have been from the decay of a scroll. In which case, you got to think, like, maybe not the best place to stick your scroll. Like
they probably knew that already because they have ones that lasted thousands of 2,000 years scrolls.
Yeah, we've got other
this
scrolls.
One is like literally decayed into nothing.
Yeah, we've got other scrolls that were preserved very well, and these they just disintegrated. That seems weird. I hope there's a lot of archaeologists out there screaming about how ridiculous our skepticism is. Other complaint about this is that with that stopper at the top, the iron rod or steel rod was exposed, so you could connect a wire to that. You could pull current from that.
Yeah.
The other lead would have to go to the copper part, which was not exposed. So they don't think there was a way to actually connect it to anything. But again, I don't know. This seems like a complicated thing. There might be more there than we know about. So let's get into some theories about this. My own theories.
I want to hear your theory.
Yeah. This is my theory about it. I think this was a time traveler's poor attempt at recreating technology from their own time.
To charge his iPhone.
Maybe.
iPhone 20.
Right. So you've got someone, like, it could be one of us. We read about this, and then we go back in time, kind of creates like a closed paradox loop.
Yeah.
But you learn about this, so you go back in time, and you're like, well, I know that if you take copper and steel and put it in a terracotta pot full of vinegar, I could pull some kind of charge off of that. But if you don't know the full science behind it, you might make a battery that works, but you don't have a way to connect up, or you can connect it to something, but you haven't found out a way to power it. There's different ways that this might have played out, but that's my theory. I think it was a time traveler who got stuck in the past and tried to recreate batteries.
Okay, I think clearly aliens. It's clearly aliens.
That is one theory out there.
Aliens are like, yeah, guys, this is how you do a battery. God, I'm gonna tell them like this really messed up thing. You take a terracotta pipe. Terracotta.
But it worked.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like telling someone a bad idea, but the bad idea works.
Yeah, but like they're telling them like the most inefficient way to do it, just to mess with them. But if you don't know how to do it, period, it is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the potential to pull 4 volts off of this thing.
Yeah, out of nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive to me. Well, like take the pyramids, for example,
all right,
where it's like they did not have crane technology at the time. There was no way they used cranes to build this. Therefore, it must be some insane, elaborate thing we can't even comprehend. It's like that's one way to go. Or they had cranes you didn't know about. That I feel like Occam's razor would support that more, which is the idea that usually the simplest answer is the most correct.
Yep.
Like it would take cranes to build that, but they didn't have cranes. It's like, well, they built it. Maybe they did.
And then maybe they took down the cranes.
Yeah.
Like they didn't leave them up.
Yeah.
There's a pyramid. There's 6 cranes they used to build it.
Right. It's like
you're done.
Yeah, and if your argument is like, well, there's no example of them using cranes. It's like, you see that pyramid over there that could only be built by cranes?
Right. Solid.
Yeah. I feel like that's the same thing here. It's like, well, this is a battery, but like they didn't have batteries, so it can't be a battery. It's like, well, maybe they did, and we didn't know. If it is just a storage system for scrolls, could you imagine going back in time and they're like, oh yeah, we put all of our scrolls in these? It's like, you guys realize if you just pour a little vinegar in there, you could invent electricity? It's like, oh, we just use them for our scrolls.
No, but like lightning in a bottle, guys.
Yeah, literally.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like
that would be like going back to ancient Egypt and finding out they have iPhones that they just serve hors d'oeuvres off of. They're like, oh yeah, we have very fancy little serving plates here. It's like, that's an iPhone. It's like, yeah, but we built it to hold food. We don't understand the future technology, but we built an iPhone as a plate.
What about where you keep all the hors d'oeuvres that they walk around with? Oh, those are the iPads.
Right. I thought that's where you're going with it. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's, I think it's unfair to just assume that they couldn't have conceived of that.
Yeah.
So my vote on this is that, yes, they did have access to batteries, but I do think that they were invented by a time traveler.
All right. I think that also they did have batteries and that they invented it themselves. But for the sake of the would you rather, I will represent that the universe says that no, they didn't have batteries and that was just a stupid scroll holder.
Right.
It was like a dumb person's like scroll
right.
holder.
Okay. Well, let's settle this. Again, they did have batteries.
And that they didn't have batteries.
Yeah.
Yes, they didn't. Because I believe that they did. So that's where I got confused.
Yes.
All right, so let's settle this like men. Put up your fists. And rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Boom! They made the batteries themselves. Oh, wait, they did have batteries.
No, they didn't.
They did not have batteries.
Yeah, they didn't have batteries. They were just really high-tech ways of holding a scroll with unnecessary multiple metal components.
Yeah, the new guy was like, oh, what about this? What about this pot? Look, it's got a stick and everything in it. We should put scrolls in it. It'll separate all the scrolls. You can put it around it.
So dumb.
Speaking about the evolution of man, let's get into the Would You Rather.
Yes.
Today's Would You Rather is awesome. I love it. It's great. Because I'm just going to get into it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Okay. So, would you rather be able to breathe underwater, which would be super cool, but you have to stay underwater?
Right.
Like, you have to stay basically in the ocean.
Okay, so you can breathe, but you can't breathe on land.
No, you can't breathe air. You have to breathe underwater.
Gotcha.
So you have to stay underwater. Or you can fly, All right, but you can never land. So you can never touch land or the ocean or anything. You
Just like the moon.
always have to be flying. Yeah, just like the moon. But you can't fly in outer space because you can't breathe out there.
Right, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, right off the bat, my first impulse is to go with flying.
Yeah.
Because if I can hover off the ground a little bit, then you can still live a pretty normal life. I feel like that's my goal for a lot of these would you rather is maintaining the status quo.
Well, I think that's the equivalent of having a face tattoo. Everyone will be like, well, I'll talk to you, but like I'm thinking about you hovering.
Yeah, but in a different way. You see someone with a face tattoo and it's more like, why did you make that choice? You see someone hovering off the ground and you're like, why can't I be that cool?
That's true. It's a different way to look at someone.
Which is probably what people with face tattoos are hoping other people will think.
Yeah.
Of the why can't I be that cool? We're not. No one's thinking that.
So that's what you would go with. You go with the flying.
I think so. I mean, are you on the underwater side of this?
I didn't think about this ahead of time because I wanted to think about it on the show. So, all right. So if it's underwater, you have, of course, the sky is the entire Earth. Well, I was thinking you have like 70% or whatever of the Earth instead of being on land.
Right. The majority of the planet is water.
Yeah, but you do have a lot of like. You're not the biggest fish in the sea.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some scary stuff in the ocean.
Yeah, I think I would go with flying for that reason. Yeah, I would love to be able to if I could survive like every depth, like that would be great.
Yeah. If there were such a thing as sharks in the sky, I might be more reluctant to go with that.
Sky sharks.
Yeah. But there's no great whites floating in the clouds. They're all underwater. So
or in tornadoes.
Right. Oh, yeah, Sharknado.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, you might run against a shark, but just fly away before it gets to you.
Yeah, just stay away from tornadoes in general if you're flying. I feel like that's just a good...
Probably solid advice. And you know what? Even when you're on land or in water, just stay away from tornadoes.
Like Dadoy, guys.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll just both go with...
Flying around.
Yeah. I'm not super surprised by that, but I really thought it'd be more of a discussion with being underwater.
I did too. It would be cool to live that life, but temporarily.
Yeah.
But we could build like a whole sky city, and I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. I mean, they had batteries in ancient times. I'm sure we can build a floating city in modern times.
I wonder how much we'd be able to lift if we could fly. Could we just carry one of our friends around, or was it just that's it?
See, I've always wondered that with superheroes that have flight but not super strength. It's like, how do you carry anyone? Or like the Flash, he doesn't have super strength. How does he just grab some 180-pound person and just run away at the speed of sound?
They still weigh that.
Yeah, they're still dragging you down.
Even if they're frozen in basically his equivalent of frozen in that spot, they still weigh that.
Yeah. Plus, the faster you go, the more that mass it approaches infinite mass. So they would just get heavier the faster you run.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
It's easier to move someone slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just that's a question that I have, and I've always wondered.
Yep.
But in the meantime, we'll just kind of fly around and think about other things.
Yeah. Right. We'll do the show in the air.
Right. On air. Oh, we could change the name to on air, and there would literally be in the air.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Next series.
Yeah.
All right. So we found out that we both fly.
Yes.
And before that, we found out that not Egyptians, but ancient people,
right?
Specifically in Baghdad, did not have batteries.
Did not. They did not have them.
They were just fancy scroll holders.
I guess so. It's kind of a lame interpretation of history, but I guess that is the truth. So
universe knows best.
Yeah. If you would like to find out other things the universe has decided on for us against our will and much to our dismay, there are a lot of episodes where we're let down, and you can be too. So go check those out.
That's a promise.
Right.
But in the meantime, remember to comment, like, and push that subscribe button.
And always pack extra batteries if you're going time traveling.
Ring the notification bell.
Never eat a manwich while wearing a white shirt.
And always look both ways before crossing the temporal zone. And as always, IKAGA.
Yup.